Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful block color sweater, which can be made from any colors of your choice. Before we go any further, why don't you smash that subscribe button and be sure to like the video and leave a comment below. A written pattern is available. Find the link in the description box below. The materials you need are your yarn, crochet hook, scissors, stitch marker, darning needle. Let's get right into it. So the colors that I'm using in this tutorial are the grey, the black and the blue, but if you can see the black and the blue, I've already combined them since I use two strands together, as this is what the yarn comes like, and it's just too fine for my liking, and considering I use a 4mm hook. So it's a 3-ply yarn, 50 grams, but I combined it to make, I don't know, 6. So you can use whatever yarn that requires you to use your 4mm hook. Begin, grab your blue yarn, if you're using blue like I am, make a slip knot and chain 35. If you're making a size small like I am, if you're a bigger size, you might want to grab the written pattern so that you can make it according to your size. So I'm going to make 35 chains, and I will meet you once I have got the 35. So I've just finished chaining my 35, and now I've grabbed my black yarn. I'm going to leave quite a bit of a tail just so it doesn't slip. To do the next part, what we're going to do is grab the yarn, the other color yarn, in my case it's the black, and instead of continuing with the blue, I'm going to push it aside, grab onto the smaller tail and just make a chain, just like that. And then I'm going to continue. So we just made 35 for the blue, and we're going to make 35 for the black. So that was 1, 2, 3, and you're gonna go on until we have got 35. So once you're done with your 35, this is what your work should look like. It's gonna be a bit messy, especially on this side. So we've connected the black yarn. So to get started on the first row, we're gonna block off the last chain that we just made. Block is a bit hard to see, and we're gonna chain 2 to begin our row. So this is the whole sweater is gonna be made using a half double slip stitch. So we're gonna yarn over our yarn into the 3rd chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3. Right in there is where I'm gonna place my half double slip stitch. So just like that, you pull through, yarn over, insert into the next chain, and slip stitch through the rest. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, pull through, slip stitch through the rest. And that's all we're gonna do, going all the way down. So I'm gonna go on doing this, and I shall meet you once I'm about to reach the blue, so we can show you how we work, how we connect with the rest. I've got 2 more stitches to work into, and we're gonna do that together. So into the last one, we're gonna yarn over as if we're doing a normal half double crochet, insert our hook. Now instead of grabbing the black yarn and pulling it out like that, we're gonna grab the blue. Okay, so you might want to be careful how you work with your yarn. I'm just gonna push my ball that side. I'm gonna grab the blue, yarn over, and oops, there we go, and I'm gonna slip stitch. Okay, this is a bit hard. It's a bit challenging. I'm gonna slip stitch with the blue. Now after I've done this, I want to grab my ball of black yarn, which is what I was working with previously, and bring it on the other side. You want this black strand to be in front of you, in front of your work as you continue, and you're gonna see why when we start working back upwards. And then from here on, you're gonna go on with the blue. Make sure you don't skip any stitches, especially when it comes to the part where we just switched yarns. And with the blue, you're gonna go on leaving 10 stitches at the bottom, because that's where we're gonna make our bottom ribbon using the slip stitch. So make sure you leave 10 stitches at the very bottom down here and worked. If you have a stitch marker, it's best to just put a stitch marker in. So we're just gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then into the 10th, place your stitch marker so that when we get there, it'll be easier to know. And I'll meet you once I reach there so we can do the ribbing together. So I've just reached my stitch marker and I'm just gonna remove that. And then into the next 10, we're gonna insert we're gonna work using slip stitches. And we're gonna just do this all the way down. All the way down to our very first stitch that we made. And once you've reached here, what you're gonna do is chain 1 and turn. Now, remember, since we're trying to get the ribbing effect, we're just gonna work into the back loops only. So the back loops of our slip stitch, we can't see it if we hold our work like this, but we'll rather hold our works like this, and we're gonna see that it's into these loops right here. So you're just gonna insert your hooks in there. Make sure you don't make it too tight because you don't want to have a hard time entering. And you might want to count, since I forgot to insert my stitch marker at the beginning after I took it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Grab your stitch marker and place it back in there. And then from here on, we're gonna go on working a normal back loop half double slip stitch all the way up until we've got one more stitch to connect with the black. So I will meet you once we've got that one more stitch to connect with the black. You go on doing that, I'll meet you once we get there. So now that I have got one more blue stitch left to work into, we're gonna go on as we did before. Yarn over using the blue, insert into the chain, hold my blue, pull my blue aside, pull the black, yarn over, and slip stitch using the black, and that's it. Now this is the part you bring your blue yarn to the front. This strand of yarn that we just finished working with, you're gonna bring it to the front. And I think you just saw, because when we're now going back on this side, the blue is easier to grab, as opposed to if it was on the other side, it's gonna make our work look really messy. So with the black, not missing any stitches, you're gonna continue doing just that. So I'm gonna work to the end of my block row, and I shall meet you. I'll work all the way to the end of my black, and I shall meet you once I have reached the end. So I just worked into my last stitch, and now I'm gonna chain 2 and turn my work to begin on row 3 and into the back loops only. Chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so we're gonna go into the first loop and slip stitch just like that, and you're gonna go on all the way down. If you're gonna use black, trust me, you don't want to do this at night. You want to work where you've got proper light. I don't even know what I was thinking using black. So I'm gonna go on, and I shall meet you once we reach here, so I show you one more time how we connect. So I've got one more chain, black chain to work into. I yarn over, insert, push my black aside, grab my blue, yarn over and slip stitch through everything. After I do this, I'm gonna grab my black yarn and I'll bring it to the front, and then I'll go on working with my blue just like that. And that's what you're gonna do all the way. Once you reach the bottom here, you're gonna slip stitch into the last 10 and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna do this for a total of 6 rows. So far we're on our 3rd, so I will meet you once I have completed the 6 rows so that we can now start working on the increases if you're doing a size small. So I have just reached the top of row 6. I've got one more stitch to work into, and that's where we're going to place our first increase for a size small, that is. So into the very last one. I know it's kind of hard to see here on camera, but I've got one more, this one right here. We're going to place 2 half double slip stitch. There we go. And then we'll chain 2, turn, and now this is row 7. So each time we reach the top, which is this part here, the top of our black, we're going to be placing an increase, and we'll increase into the first, placing 2 half double slip stitches, and then we're going to continue working on normal rows. So the increases, we're going to do this until row 12, so 6 rows of increases. And if you lay your work like this, you're gonna see it's already starting to pop up, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a little arc, that is little portion that's gonna go up, which is gonna comprise of 6 rows. So I've just done 2 with you. You're gonna increase on row 8, 9, 10 up to row 12, and I will meet you on row 12. So now I'm finalizing row 12. I've got just a few more stitches to work at the top, and to the last one I'll be placing my last increase, 1 and 2. So at the end of row 12, this is what it should look like. These were the first 6 that we made, and then these are the 6 rows we just increased. This is a total of 12 rows. So now this is what your whole thing should look like. Down here, having the ribbed part, this is the part that's gonna lay on your waist. So now we're about to start working on the shoulder portion. So what we're gonna do is chain 15 plus 2 to turn, so chain 17 in total. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's about it, right? Hold on, let me count. Okay, I've just added 2 to turn my work. So now we're gonna start going down, blocking into the 3rd, chain from the hook. We're gonna place our first half double slip stitch, and we're not doing any more increase rows anymore. We're now just going down with the normal rows, because right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to do the shoulder chunk. So for the size that I am making, which is the size small, by the way, this is easy to modify to any size that you wish. You can just use a measurement. I mean, if you want it to be a bit oversized, you can just hold it onto yourself, put it onto yourself, bearing in mind that this tends to stretch, especially with the pattern that we're using. So for my size, I'm going to keep on going all the way down with this shorter portion. So I will meet you once I have reached the very end down here of my work, so that I can now show you how many rows you need to make for your shorter portion. So I have just gotten started on row 14 of my work, and if you remember, we're working now on the shorter portion. We have just come from our underarm, this section is what's going to be lying at our underarm, and we have just brought the underarm to the bottom of our bust, and now we've made the shoulder chunk. So we're going to work a total of 7 rows for a size small. 7 rows. If you're trying to make this a bit bigger, honestly speaking, you can add more or you can do less. If you want it to be tight on you, if you want it to be a little oversized, you can add a bit more. But we're going to work a total of 7 rows. This was 1. I'm coming back up. This was row 13. So I'm coming back up with row 14 of the 7 rows. And it's going to be a shorter chunk. It's going to be kind of thick. A bit thick. So I will meet you once I have done my 7 rows. So far I'm on row 2 of the shoulder chunk, but in total I'm on row 14 of the whole thing. So I will meet you once I have finished my 7 shoulder portion rows. So I've gone on and gotten started on row 20. However, before we finish off row 20, you want to put a bobby pin or a stitch marker on the 7th stitch from the top. Since now we're starting to work on our neck, so once you get close to here, we're going to do that together. We're about to place our very first decrease so that we can create that little curve around the neck. Almost there. Okay, so you're gonna leave 2 chains before the bobby stitch marker. My stitch marker is in this one right here, so I'm gonna leave this 2 out because that's what we're gonna do our decrease. So to do our decrease, we're gonna yarn over, insert into the first chain, pull through. Instead of finishing off the stitch, we're just gonna insert into the next one that we left out, grab our yarn, pull through. So now we've got 4 loops on our hook, and then we'll slip stitch into all 4. Oh, didn't do that right. We'll do that again. Yarn over, insert into the first chain, pull through, insert into the second, pull through, and slip stitch through. Come on. There we go. Slip stitch, pull through all 4 loops on the hook, and then we chain 2. So that's our first decrease row, and we're gonna do, for the size small, we're gonna do 8 rows of decreases. So to get started on the second row of decrease, we're gonna just chain 2 and turned, yarning over the very same way into the first stitch right here, yarn on, insert, pull through, and into the second one, insert, pull through 4 loops on the hook, and slip stitch through everything. And then we're gonna keep on going. Everything else will be worked on as we've been doing before, switching the colors where we need to switch, slip stitching at the end. But once we get to the top, we'll be doing our decreases. So I've just done 2. I need to do 4 more. Hold on. 6 more rows since we're doing 8 decrease rows. So I'm gonna go on and finish off my 8 rows, and I shall meet you once I have done that. I finished my 8 rows of decreasing, and I had just gotten started on my new row. However, now this new row that we're starting is gonna be normal rows, no more increasing or decreasing. We're gonna work 16 for a size small. But we're not going to work the whole 16 since half of the front portion is going to be worked in using the black and blue, and the other half is going to be the grey. So on this, instead of going a whole 16, we're going to go a whole 8. After the 8, we're going to do another 8 of the grey, and then we're going to repeat this on the other side. It's going to make sense when we start to do it. So just to finish this next row together, and this is how we're going to do the next 16 rows. We're not gonna do any more decreases. It's just gonna be normal rows now. And into the last one, and just like that, and chain 2, turn the work, and go on down. Nothing fancy, just working these normal rows. So this is now row 2 out of the 16, but remember we just want to do 8 rows. So you go on and do 8 normal rows and I will meet you so that we can switch colors together. So now I've just reached the end of the row of the blue, and now it's time to connect my grey or whatever color you guys are using. So I'm just going to leave a bit of a tail at the end, and I will connect by chaining 1. So in the case where we would chain 1 with the blue, we're now going to chain 1 with the grey, and I have just put that in through like that. And then we'll turn our work to get started on the next rows. And of course we're gonna work another 8 rows to complete that portion that we were talking about earlier. So you're just gonna tuck that on like that. If you want, you can just tie this together. Just tie it once, since we're gonna weave it in, so that it doesn't give you a hard time when you're starting the row. Okay, so just like that. And we're gonna go on with those 10 slip stitches, just in grey this time. And remember, everything else is the same, nothing is changing from here on. Don't forget 8 more rows of the grey. So just as you've been doing the previous rows of black and blue, you're gonna do the very same thing just with grey now. You're gonna work another chunk of 8 rows, and then I will meet you at the end so that we can increase an 8 together and then chain however many we need to do the, just pretty much work backwards what we did here, just to finalize the front portion. So you go on doing the 8 rows, the 8 remaining rows of the grey, and I'll meet you at the end. And for the black yarn, I cut mine off. We will weave that in at the end. So I have just done my 8 rows of grey, which is this section right here, and I got started onto the first increase row after the grey. So the increase row, what we're trying to do, we've just worked our normal portion, which is here, and we're trying to increase on this side like we did on this side, just on that side. And then after, we're gonna chain 5 and work this portion. But first of all, let's do this little increase section on this side, and I will show you how to get started. So I'm just gonna finish my row, and into the last stitch right there, as we have been doing, we're just gonna place 2 half double slip stitch, chain 2 and 10. Other people chain 1, it's really fine, just I don't know, I find it better and easier to work into when I chain 2. And then on the next we're going down, we're gonna do another increase and go on. And since we did 8 decrease rows on the other side, we need to do the exact same thing on this side, which is 8 increase rows. And I'm on my second, so I've got 2 more rows. There was 8 this side, there has to be 8 this side as well. So I'm going to increase for 8 rows. I've just done 2, I've got 6 more to go, and I'll meet you once I have done the increases. And so I have just done the 8 rows of increasing, and we have reached the top of our work, which is right here. And I'm just gonna finish the next row together, which is gonna be the one where we chain our 7. I think I said 5 previously, I meant 7. So I'm just gonna finish this row with you. And we're not gonna do any increases, just like that, and we're gonna chain 7 plus 2 to turn. And 7, and then 2 to begin our work. You can chain 1 if you want, but like I said, I prefer 2. So into the third chain from the hook, we're gonna go in with our half double slip stitch. And we'll continue to do this all the way down. So we're not working any more increases or decreases. We're just going down with normal half double slip stitches. And our aim is to do the very number of portions we did on this side. If you're a size small, you know how many numbers we did on this side. 7 rows. I had to go check. For a size small, we're gonna do 7 rows of this chunk right here, just in grey on this side. So you're gonna go on doing what we've been doing the whole time, just normal row of half double slip stitch until you have your whole chunk of 7 rows on this side. And once you've done that, I will meet you. So I have just finished my shoulder portion, and if you remember, after we had done our increases on this side, we chained 17, which really gave us 15 stitches. So what I've done on this side, the other side, is I have just placed my stitch marker on the 15th stitch, because now we're about to do a decrease, 6 rows of decreases on this, like we did here, just on this side. So this is where you want to pause to get started on your next row, but I have already gotten started. So you might want to pause the video and replay once you're close to your stitch marker, because that's where we're going to do our first decrease together. And so I'm just gonna go on. Okay, so I've got 2 stitches left, and that's what you want to do. You want to have, because that's where we're going to place our very first decrease. So to decrease, you insert our hook, grab the yarn, pull through, and then in the second stitch, insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull through. Now you've got 4 loops on the hook, and you just pull through everything. Oh, hold on. Let's do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull through. You've got 3 loops. Into the next stitch, insert, pull through. Now you've got 4 loops and pull through everything, just like that. That's your first row of decrease. We're gonna do 6. To begin our next, I've chained 2 and turned. Yarn over into the first, insert my hook, pull through. I've got 3 loops on my hook. To the second stitch, chain, insert my hook, pull through. I've got 4 loops and yarn over and pull through. That's my second row of decrease. And I'm gonna work down doing the same way as we've been doing the whole time. So each time for 4 more rows, since we're doing 6 rows of decreases, each time you reach here, that's what you're gonna do, a decrease. This is my second row, which means I've got 4 more decreases to do. And if you're doing a size medium or large, you're going to do the number of stitches that's required for you. So I'm going to do my 6 rows of decreases, and I will meet you once I'm done. So I finished. After I did the 6 rows of decreases, I went on and did 6 normal rows. As you can see, no more decreases. All you do is normal rows. And that's 6 if you're a size small. After that, I haven't fastened off my yarn, it's still connected. Well, for the back panel, I've already done mine. It's very easy. I'm just gonna talk you through it. So for a size small, as you know, we worked the 6 rows, 6 normal rows, and then did the 6 rows of increase, which is the exact same thing for the back panel. Okay, let me put them aside so you can see. Which is the very same thing for the back panel, 6 rows, normal rows, and then 6 rows of increase, and then we chained 15 as we did with this side, and then we worked 7 normal rows. Those 7 are here, trust me. And then instead of decreasing here to work these 8 rows of decreases, these 8 rows of decreases would just be worked on right here. You're not going to do anything fancy, no decreases whatsoever. So the 7 rows are here, and then the 8 rows of decreases are here, and then the 8 rows of black are here, the 8 rows of grey are here, which are the 16 normal rows, which are these ones here. And then the 8 increase rows all worked here. No, we're not doing anything fancy, just a whole big panel. That's for a size small. And then this chunk, it's all here. So after this chunk right here, which is what you're looking at right here, down here is exactly the same as the front panel. You're just gonna place your stitch mark after 15 stitches, work 6 rows if you're doing a size small, that is, work 6 rows of decreases, and then 6 normal rows. yeah, that's your back panel done, which is everything else is the same down here. So what I'm going to do now is to connect the back and the front panel. So you're going to grab your tapestry needle, if you will, and if you want your colors to be on the same side like I do, you're going to do that. And then if you want it to be the other way around, that's also up to you. You can do that, but I want my colors to be on the same side. So that's what I'm going to do. And with your tapestry needle, all you're going to do is you're going to connect the front panel and the back panel. That's if you're using a tapestry needle. If you're using a crochet hook, all you're going to do is with the crochet hook, connect this side. When you come to this side, you want to start with the blue because we want it to look neat. Or whatever color you're using, you want to start with the blue and then change with the black. Connect all the way to here, and then once you're done, you will connect. Oh, let me turn this around. You will connect the shoulder panels, which is this side and this side. Bear in mind, after we're done, we're going to be turning this inside out. I know it looks a bit funny here because on the other side it's neater. And then after you've done connecting that, you're gonna pause the video and then we'll get to making the sleeves. So now we're done connecting all our panels, the shoulders, the sides, everything's been connected. It's time to get started on the arms. So right here on the underarm where your armpit's gonna be, you're gonna insert your hook to connect your yarn. I'm gonna make my arms blue, so I'm gonna connect the blue. And now connect it, slip stitching through. So these tails right here, we're gonna work over them, so don't let them bother you too much. And then I'm gonna chain one. So now all I'm going to do is go around placing single crochets. For a size small, I'm going to try to place around 55 to 60 single crochets around each armhole. And since the sides are kind of hard to see, you're just going to make do with what we've got and try and find spots and place the single crochets, just like I'm doing. Being sure to count, that's my second. So you go on doing that around and I'll meet you once I reach the end to show you how we get started. So I happened to lose the footage to the sleeves and the collar video. I am so sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a link in the comment section of another tutorial that explains.